I would never want to do an MDF webinar without talking about reporting and particularly ROI. I think that's the most questions that have come in. So, with that in mind, the whole goal of spending marketing dollars is to generate, excuse me, generate demand, generate leads, etc. for your, be it direct or indirect teams. Um, but there's always lots of debate about this. Um, I have no doubt in my own mind, having done it for 20 odd years, it works. It's how do you prove and show it works is tricky. And there's lots of ways to do that. We do it at scale for some very large customers. So I promise you faithfully it works. Um, on that topic, I suppose, Laura, I'd just like to turn to yourself first. Obviously, lots of debate around this area, but it is a key differentiator in running a successful MDF program. So maybe again, Laura, if you could share, some of your experiences on this and recommendations in terms of how to best ensure that ROI is built into the program and you're reporting it successfully.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, defining what the proof of performance is for each activity offered, it requires planning and making sure that the upfront thoughts are there. And it's a really important step to make sure that you're getting the defined proof of performance so that you can do the measurement. Um, what we do, for example, if it's a lead generation campaign and the partner will provide the proof of the leads that were generated, we take those leads, we upload them into a portal, and then if they register a deal reg, they can pull that, tag it to that campaign or the end customer name and make sure that it's converted back to start showing the ROI. But if you don't show your partner that these things are working and create a visual chart or something, tie it back into the MDF so that they can see that it's actually driving the business. It's different people typically doing the sales to the marketing. And you need to make sure you're closing that loop. And so emails and spreadsheets just get lost. So we want to make sure on the MDF platform that you're tying that back in so that you're able to see the success of your actual program or activity that you're running, which to me, I think is really important because then you can see if it's successful or if it's not. I mean, sometimes knowing it's not is just as important to know that it is. And so you can only, measure what you're doing by having those integrations and tools available.
Great, Laura. Thanks very much. Um, Yeah, so look, a lot in there, but as Laura said, I suppose the most important point I would take from that conversation is you got to think about it from the start. As Laura alluded to there, when you're offering activities in your MDF program, you really need to think about what is the ROI. So again, the easiest one to think about is I'm going to give you funds for lead generation. Um, leads will turn into deals, will turn into opportunities. So I can see a pathway there for my ROI. It's going to be on revenue, but it's not always that simple. There's softer ones like, you know, demand generation, influence. What does that mean? So you have to think about all of those, and how do you attribute or create attribution that you can show the ROI for those. So go right back as you do it, unless you can come up with a way to measure the ROI, then I suggest you don't offer an activity or funds for doing it. Because if you can't measure it yourself and you're the one that owns the program and the activities, you have to ask yourself the question, how is somebody else supposed to do it? So really think about it from the start. And when you do, everything gets easier down the road, right? So it's really putting in the hard work up front and getting that balance right. Um, so I don't know, Louise or Carlina, anything you wanted to chime in with on the whole ROI conversation?
Yeah, I also do think that, having that partnership with your partner to ensure that you're both measuring the success of that campaign and program is aligned as well, because sometimes I do see, there may be mixed expectations on both the vendor and partner side of what that ROI is. And some of that could be soft metrics that we measure internally from a vendor perspective, whether that gets us in front of a certain vertical or opportunity there. So I do think having that upfront conversation, I think Louise, you mentioned this even before that request is entered into the MDF program and ensure alignment on ROI, sets that expectation throughout the campaign through the end as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I was just gonna add to that, Kayla, so just to echo something that you said earlier, which is making sure that everybody understands that you're not going to get ROI tomorrow from an MDF activity, right? This, it's a medium, mostly a medium kind of long-term game. So in terms of the education internally around the expectations, with finance and leadership about kind of when are we going to see ROI, I think that internal education and understanding is incredibly important.
Yeah. Okay, great. So